The story begins with a small, adorable Akita puppy who is being shipped inside a parcel box. While the box is being transported from the railway station to its destination, the cage suddenly falls onto the ground. As soon as the cage breaks, the little puppy manages to escape. Scared and confused, he starts wandering around the railway station, not understanding where he is or what to do next. At the same time, a man named Parker Wilson arrives at the station. He lives in Providence, Rhode Island, and works as a college professor. Every day, Parker takes the train from Bedridge Railway Station to go to his college. When Parker notices the frightened puppy all alone, he stops and gently says, "Hey buddy, are you lost?" He picks the puppy up and looks around, hoping someone might come forward and say, "That's my dog," but no one at the station claims the puppy. Parker then takes the puppy to the station master and explains, "I found this puppy here. His cage was broken. Maybe someone will come looking for him. Until then, could you please keep him here?" But the station master refuses. He explains that he's afraid of dogs and says he can't keep the puppy at the station, especially because the puppy would have to stay locked alone all night. With no other option, Parker decides to take the puppy home with him, but he hides the puppy in a room because Parker's wife, Kate, doesn't like dogs at all. She has clearly said she doesn't want a dog in the house. Parker goes upstairs to spend some time with Kate. After a while, the puppy sneaks out, following Parker's scent. He quietly reaches upstairs and suddenly licks Kate's foot. Kate gets terrified and angry. She looks at Parker and asks, "Where did this come from?" Parker tells her the truth, that he found the puppy at the station, and promises that he will take him back the next morning. Kate agrees, but with one strict condition: make sure he's gone by morning. This dog is not staying in this house. That night, Parker takes the puppy to the shed outside. He once had a dog who had passed away, so he uses that dog's old things to make a comfortable bed for the puppy. He places a bowl of water beside him, wishes him good night, and closes the gate. The puppy quietly watches Parker through a small gap in the shed door. The next morning, Parker's daughter Andy takes photos with the puppy. She immediately falls in love with him and asks her dad if they can keep the dog. Parker tells her they'll need her mom's permission. When Parker talks to Kate again, she hands him lost puppy posters and firmly says, "No more dogs in this house." So Parker places the puppy inside a bag and leaves. First, he takes the puppy to an animal shelter. He explains that he found the puppy at the station and asks if they can keep him until the owner shows up. But the man there bluntly replies, "This is not a boarding service. This is a pound." He explains that this place keeps stray animals until they are put up for adoption. Looking at the puppy, the man says, "He's very cute. Someone will adopt him for sure, but it could take at least 2 weeks, and right now we're already full." Next, Parker visits a friend who owns a shop and is an animal lover. She wants to adopt the puppy, but her cat doesn't like him, so she can't keep him. Parker asks several other people as well, but no one is willing to take the puppy. Left with no choice, Parker brings the puppy back to the same railway station. He asks the station master again, "Has anyone come looking for this puppy?" The station master replies, "No, no one has come." Now Parker has no other option. He takes the puppy with him on the train to college. Even though pets are not allowed, everyone at the station knows Parker, so no one objects. Besides, the puppy is inside a bag, so no one even notices. On the way back from college, Parker stops by to meet his Japanese friend, whose name is Ken. Parker shows Ken a Japanese note that he found attached to the puppy's cage. When Ken tries to read it, he realizes that the note is half torn, and the only clear word left on it is the name of a place in central Japan, Yamanashi. Ken then looks at the tag around the puppy's neck and reads the name written on it, Hachi. Ken explains that in Japan, the number 8 is called Hachi, and it is considered a very lucky number. He also tells Parker that this is not an ordinary dog. This puppy belongs to a royal and very special breed, known as the Akita. When Parker suggests, "Why don't you keep him?" Ken smiles and replies, "No, this puppy has already chosen his owner." Since no one else is willing to adopt him, Parker Wilson finally brings the puppy back home, and this is where a story begins. A story that would later make the whole world cry. Parker explains everything to his wife, Kate. He tells her that he tried everything to find Hachi's real owner. He asked many people, tried adoption, and even put up posters in 10 different places around the city. Kate asks him, "So you've already named him? Do you actually want to keep him?" Just then, they hear a loud crashing sound from inside the house. When they rush in, they see that Hachi has knocked over Kate's project, the one she had been working on for a long time. Kate becomes extremely angry and says clearly, "I don't want this dog inside the house anymore. Take him outside. He is never coming back in." With no other choice, Parker places Hachi in the shed on the lawn. But later that night, the weather suddenly turns bad. Strong winds start blowing, and a storm begins. Parker grows worried, knowing that Hachi is all alone outside. Finally, he quietly goes out, lifts Hachi into his arms, and brings him inside the house. To make sure Kate doesn't hear anything, Parker turns on the TV, sits on the sofa, and lets Hachi rest peacefully in his lap. Later that night, Kate wakes up and notices that Parker isn't in bed. She hears the TV playing in the living room. When she walks out, she sees Parker sleeping on the sofa, with Hachi sitting calmly in his arms. Without saying a word, she gently wakes Parker up, takes him upstairs to the bedroom, and leaves Hachi there. From that moment on, her anger slowly begins to melt. In the next scene, we see Parker playing with Hachi on the lawn. He tries to teach Hachi how to fetch a ball. Parker throws the ball. Hachi runs after it, but never brings it back. No matter how many times they try, Hachi just doesn't learn. So finally, Parker gets down on the ground like a dog himself, picks up the ball with his mouth, and tries to show Hachi how it's done. Parker's daughter sees all of this through the window. She calls her mother and shows her how happy her father looks. Just then, a phone call comes in. The voice on the phone says, "We would like to adopt the puppy." Kate feels happy at first and replies, "Please give me your number. My husband will call you back." But as she looks around for a pen, she glances outside through the window. She sees Parker and their daughter laughing, playing joyfully with Hachi. Seeing this, she gently says into the phone, "Hello, the dog has already been taken," meaning Hachi has already found his home. The story then jumps forward in time. Hachi has grown bigger, and so has the bond between Parker and Hachi. Every morning, Hachi plays with Parker, stays close to him all day, and slowly their lives stop feeling separate. They now feel like one life. You stay. One day, just like every other day, Parker leaves for college. But that day, Hachi digs a hole under the fence, escapes the yard, and runs straight to the train station. Parker has already boarded the train. When he suddenly sees Hachi standing on the platform, he immediately gets off and tells him, "Go home, I need to go to college." He tries again and again to send Hachi back, but Hachi refuses to leave. In the end, Parker has no choice. He skips college that day and returns home. While filling the hole Hachi dug under the fence, Kate walks over and asks, "Didn't you go to college today?" Parker replies, "I couldn't. Hachi came to the station, and I missed my train." Kate smiles softly and says, "I'll take care of this. You take the next train and go to college." Professor Parker leaves for college once again and softly tells Hachi, "Stay here, I'll see you this evening." Hachi looks at Kate with gentle, loving eyes, and she can't resist. She smiles and gives him a small treat. That evening, the moment the train whistle echoes from the station, Hachi immediately understands this is his owner's train. He jumps over the wall, runs straight to the station, and quietly sits at his usual spot, calmly waiting for Parker. As soon as Parker steps out of the station, Hachi runs toward him, plays with him, and looks unbelievably happy. Parker asks Joshjeet, the stall owner near the station, "Was he sitting here all day?" Joshjeet replies, No, he just arrived, only about 2 minutes before you." Parker smiles, plays with Hachi, and they walk back home together. Meanwhile, Andy introduces her mother to her boyfriend, Michael. Michael talks to Parker and tells him that he once wanted to become a musician, but when he was young, his brother accidentally crushed his fingers in a car door, and after that, he gave up playing the piano. Parker gently asks him, "Do you love my daughter?" Michael hesitates for a moment, then confidently replies, "Yes, I love her very much." This makes Parker happy, and he introduces Michael to Hachi as well. Michael throws a ball in front of Hachi and tells him to fetch it, but Hachi doesn't move at all. Parker laughs and says, "If you want the ball, you'll have to get it yourself." Hachi doesn't fetch. Michael tries too, but Hachi still doesn't move. Later, while returning from practice with his friend Ken, Parker tells him that Hachi never fetches. Ken smiles and explains, "Akitas don't do that. They're not Labradors. They form a deep, special connection, and if Hachi ever fetches, it will be for a very important reason." Soon after, Parker happily marries off his daughter Andy to Michael, the man she loves. Hachi is present at the wedding too. Everything feels perfect, and the house is filled with happiness. The next day, Parker leaves for college again. Hachi wants to go with him as always, but Parker hesitates, afraid Hachi might stop him from going. But seeing Hachi's innocent face, he gives in and takes him along. They play and walk together until they reach the station. At the entrance, Parker gently says, "Hachi, go home." Hachi quietly obeys and returns. That evening when Parker's train arrives, Hachi comes back to the station to meet him. This slowly becomes their daily routine. Every morning, Hachi walks Parker to the station. Every evening, he sits at the same spot, waiting patiently for him. Over time, their lives no longer feel separate. They become deeply connected. Parker spends all his free time with Hachi, and Hachi lives every moment waiting for Parker to return. One day, Parker comes back from college and notices that Hachi isn't at the station. Worried, he rushes home. He hears Hachi barking loudly in the garage. Hachi is barking at something. A skunk has entered the garage. Parker tries to scare it away while holding Hachi back, but when the skunk doesn't leave, Parker tries covering it with a box. He slips and falls, and the skunk sprays both Parker and Hachi. When Kate returns home and sees the mess, she's shocked. she goes to the bathroom and finds Parker bathing with Hachi. Parker explains, "The skunk sprayed us. They both smell terrible, so that night, they're forced to sleep together in the living room." One day, Andy comes home with exciting news. She tells her mother, "I'm going to be a mom." Kate is overjoyed. Andy then goes to her father, who is gently massaging Hachi, and tells him, "You're going to be a grandfather." Hearing this, Parker is extremely happy. The next day, Parker gets ready to leave for college again. He says to Hachi, "Come on." But that day, Hachi doesn't move. Parker walks closer and asks softly, "What's wrong?" Kate also asks, "What happened to him today?" Parker replies, "I don't know." He kneels down and says, "One last time, last chance, you want to come with me?" But Hachi doesn't respond. With no choice, Parker leaves. The moment Parker walks out, Hachi goes into the storage room, picks up the ball in his mouth, pushes the door open, and runs with all his strength straight toward the train station. On the other side, Professor Parker reaches the station. He turns back one last time to see if Hachi is coming. The stall owner Josh Sheet asks, "Where's Hachi today?" Just as Parker is about to enter the station, Hachi suddenly appears behind him. There is a ball in Hachi's mouth. Seeing this, Parker's eyes light up. He smiles and says, "Did you bring the ball for me?" Parker takes the ball, throws it, and says, "Go, bring it." Hachi runs, picks up the ball, and brings it back to Parker. Parker is overwhelmed with happiness, because this was the first time in Hachi's entire life that he had ever fetched a ball. Parker excitedly tells the station master, "Did you see that? First fetch, first time in his life." He throws the ball again, and again, Hachi brings it back. Parker proudly says to everyone around, "Did you see that? He brought it back for the first time." Then Parker looks at the time and says softly, "I'm getting late. I have to go now." But suddenly, Hachi's behavior changes. He becomes restless. As Parker starts walking inside the station, Hachi begins barking loudly. He had never done that before. Parker stops. He comes back to Hachi, kneels down, gently pets him, and looks into his eyes. Hachi looks back at him, as if he's trying to say something, but time doesn't stop. Parker boards the train and leaves. Hachi stands on the platform, watching the train disappear, with a strange feeling in his heart, as if something precious has just slipped away. At college, while Professor Parker is giving his lecture, he suddenly feels unwell. He suffers a heart attack and collapses right there in the classroom. Professor Parker passes away. Evening arrives. Just like every day, Hachi reaches the station, but Parker doesn't come. Hachi keeps waiting. People slowly leave. The platform becomes empty, but Parker never arrives. Night falls. Even Jasjeet closes his stall and leaves. Hachi is still sitting there. Later, Michael comes to the station and takes Hachi home because he knows Hachi waits for Parker every day. Professor Parker's funeral takes place. The next day, Hachi looks completely broken, and when evening comes, the moment the train is supposed to arrive, Hachi walks back to the same spot at the station where he always waited for Parker. He carefully looks at every face leaving the train, but the face he's waiting for never appears. Night falls again. Snow begins to fall. Still, Hachi remains there, sitting quietly. The station master walks up to him and says sadly, "You don't need to wait for the professor anymore. He's never coming back." After this, Andy and Michael bring Hachi to their home because Professor Parker's old house is being emptied. No one lives there anymore, and Kate is moving in with Andy. But after coming to his daughter's house, Hachi becomes deeply sad. He hasn't seen his professor for many days. One day, Hachi gets a chance and runs away. He goes straight to the railway station, sits at the same spot and waits. But even that evening, Parker does not return. The next morning, Hachi goes to the old house. He sees new people living there. In that moment, Hachi finally understands. His owner is no longer there. Silently, he walks back to the station and sits at his usual place. Later, Andy comes to the station and takes Hachi back home. But the next evening, the moment the train whistle sounds, Hachi becomes restless again. He runs toward the door. This time, Andy opens it herself because she knows no one can stop him now. She softly says, "Bye, Hachi," and Hachi runs straight to the station, sits in the same place, and continues waiting for his owner. Months pass, and slowly, the story of Hachi's loyalty spreads throughout the entire city. Everyone now knows about the dog who still waits for the man who will never return. One day, a reporter from the press arrives at the station. He asks the station master, "We want to know about this dog. We want to publish his story in our newspaper." The reporter then asks, "Where does Hachi live?" The station master replies softly, "We don't know. He comes and goes. He does whatever he wants." The reporter takes photos of Hachi and publishes his story in the newspaper. As soon as the story is printed, people from all over begin sending money, so Hachi never has to suffer from hunger or cold. Years pass. After a long time, Professor Parker's wife, Kate, returns to the city. She comes back to visit Parker's grave. There, she also meets Ken, their close friend, the one they both shared a bond with. Kate says quietly, 10 years have passed, and I didn't even realize it." Later, as she heads back home and reaches the railway station, her eyes fall on something familiar. she sees an old, tired Hachi sitting at the same place, still waiting for Parker. Kate walks toward him and gently says, "You're still waiting?" She hugs Hachi tightly and breaks down in tears. She whispers a soft thank you. This becomes the most emotional moment of the film. One day, while waiting at the same station, Hachi quietly passes away. And in that moment, we see Professor Parker again, not as a man, but as a spirit. Parker and Hachi finally reunite, playing together once more, because now, even death cannot separate them. The voice then shifts to Ronnie, who is telling this story to his classmates at school. His grandmother, Kate, had once told him the entire story of Hachi. Ronnie says, "I never met my grandfather, but every time I hear about Hachi and him, I feel like I know him. They taught me what loyalty really means, and that we should never forget the ones we truly love. That's why Hachi will always be my hero." The entire class listens in silence, their eyes filled with tears, and then they begin to applaud. After getting off the school bus, Ronnie notices a dog waiting outside. Michael has brought him. They name the dog Hachi. From that day on, Ronnie keeps Hachi by his side, taking care of him every single day. Because some stories don't end, they live on, through love, memory, and loyalty. Hachi didn't just wait. He loved without limits. If this story touched your heart, please like and share it with someone who loves dogs, because loyalty like this deserves to be remembered forever.